Gibson was walking his dog. He noticed that the environment he was in afforded his dog's life or death. There was flat ground for the dog to easily walk on, trees to give the dog shade, and water to keep the dog hydrated, thus affording the dog's life. There were also cliffs the dog could fall off of, and other animals that could eat his dog. These situations would afford Gibson's dog's death. The way that these particular objects afford a function, like teeth for eating or flat ground to walk on, can be seen in their design. Function is known by how objects carry out a specific task. We know a trash can functions by placing garbage inside. We know a door opens when we turn the handle and push or pull. These functions are learned through experience and are used to help us in other situations. For example, files on a desktop computer use known objects to communicate their function. To delete a file on a computer, one would use the trash can because of the learned experience we have with the function of the trash can. Lidwell et al. Describe affordance as a property in which the physical characteristics of an object or environment influence its function. Therefore, an object affords a function. Basically, if an object or environment's affordance corresponds with function, then it is more efficient. When affordance conflicts with function, it is less efficient. For example, a chair affords sitting. The design of the chair makes it clear where to place your legs, rear, and back. Therefore, when a chair affords sitting because of the design, it is efficient. However, the chair can also afford different functions that are not necessarily intended by the design. You can stand on a chair or use it to hold the door open. This is less efficient because it is not the intended function. So what does this mean? We should design objects to afford their function. This can be done by making something look like what it does. For instance, we know to push a button because it looks like it can move up and down. The button, therefore, affords being pushed. When designing something, you must take into consideration various affordances. There are 8 specific categories. The first is that it must afford improvements, such as new versions of a software. Second, it must afford manufacture, or be able to break into components. Next, it must afford maintenance, such as cleaning. It must also afford aesthetics, to be visually appealing. It must afford retirability. It must afford human use, rather than robotic use or animal use. It must afford sustainability. And most importantly, it must afford desired purposes, but not afford undesired purposes.